Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. We are talking Dragon Boat Festival here. Of course, joining me on set is the president of the Pan American Dragon Boat Federation, Mr. Franco Siu Chong. And also joining us virtually is the PRO, Public Relations Officer of the association, Mr. Kent Fuentes. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kent. Kent, you sound so enthused. Good morning.
This is my sport, you know.
I know. So for those of you who may not know, Kent and I work together in the newsroom, and Kent is always promoting, he does a really good job, I must say, Mr. Siu Chong. He's always promoting Dragon Boat Festival, and so we're looking forward to what's coming up next week. But before we get into the event, tell us a bit about the association and how it became such a staple in TNT.
Well, the Chinese Bicentennial Limited was born out of the 200th anniversary of the Chinese arrival to Trinidad and Tobago. That is in the year 2006. The then President, Max Richards, he gave a mandate, hey, it's 200 years that the first Chinese have arrived in Trinidad and Tobago, and this is something to celebrate. So the Chinese Bicentennial Limited was formed, and then we had a whole year of activities in 2006. Art shows, fashion shows, dinners, and so on, and culminating in the Dragon Boat Festival on October the 12th. October the 12th is the day of the first Chinese arrived in Trinidad and Tobago in 2006. So that is where it started, and since then we have been having Dragon Boat festivals every year, of course, except the year of 2020 and 2021 because of COVID. But we have been having these Chinese arrival, the Dragon Boat festivals every year. Right. And it is the one time the Chinese get together to celebrate this event. This next weekend, we'll see a lot of Chinese restaurants coming out. I think it's about 10 Chinese restaurants. They'll be selling dim sum, mooncake, a lot of Chinese tea, delicacies, you know, so it will be a great Chinese, not only food, you know, Chinese is always just food,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And we also have cultural events, dragon dance, shows, kung fu, martial arts, you know, so plus, of course, our Dragon
Boat Festival.
Yes.
So this is definitely the return coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, yes. COVID really set back a lot of us because it's a team sport. It's one of the last sports to get back onto the water, you know. So everybody's looking forward to this. We have 24 teams coming out, right? We have seven Chinese teams from the various Chinese association and Chinese companies. We have 8 junior teams born from the schools. You know, dragon boating in schools is very big.
Nice.
Right? I mean, next year we'll have next year we'll be having a inter-school regatta.
Oh, wow.
Right? And then we have 9 corporate teams, premier teams. So we have 24 teams that would be racing in junior category, and the premier category.
Yes.
And of course, those 7 Chinese teams will be racing in the Special Ambassadors Cup. This is a special race, this is a special event just for the Chinese associations and the Chinese companies that are in Trinidad and Tobago. So you see a lot of Chinese around on Sunday.
I'm going to bring Kent here. Kent, just tell us a little bit about the event. Tell us exactly what day it's taking place and anything that Mr. Siu Chong may have missed. I know he just gave us a grand overview, but tell us about the event that's taking place next week.
I think he didn't miss anything, but the event takes place on 8th and 9th of October. Next weekend, of course, down in Chaguaramas, and we aim to begin at 9 a.m. Now, again, you know, for 2-3 years, teams haven't been able to compete. So we are all looking forward as competitors and also as members of the organization to get back on the water. Prior to the shutdown in 2020 because of COVID, we hosted the Pan American Dragon Boat Club Crew Championships in Tobago, which was a huge success. So just as the sport was, you know, we would say on a high or extreme high, COVID came, and of course, you know, we had to shut down. But during that time, we've been able to get a lot done. One of the things we've been able to get done is a home for Dragon Boat, which Mr. Siu Chong is very instrumental in setting up the Dragon Boat Center down in Chaguaramas, where we train, we race, we hang out. You know, we can do everything down there now that we have a home and even in the future possibly develop national teams as well.
Wow, that sounds absolutely fantastic. Now, Mr. Siu Chong, you shared with us the events that are coming up and, of course, that which is taking place on the 8th and 9th. Are there any costs attached to wanting to participate or just observe these events?
Well, teams to offset costs, they have a registration fee,
Okay.
right? So it isn't that much.
Nice.
Right? So, but still, you have to buy trophies, you have to buy medals,
Of
you
course.
have to provide
It's
tents.
a competition, so what are some of the prizes in case you come first, second, third? How does it work?
The prizes, there's no prize money here. There's only
Bragging rights.
bragging rights. That's right. And,
Yeah.
and the team to say, look, they've been on top for this year, and they have beat the previous top teams.
Yes,
you know.
yes.
One thing I did forget is that we happy to have entry from Tobago.
Oh,
The
nice.
Oceanos, they're coming. They're pretty strong. Tobago, the Tobago competition is
Very
pretty
good.
stiff.
Watch out, Kent.
Competitions coming your way. Now, Mr. Siu
Yeah.
Chong, I'm not sure if Ken can jump in here as well. For those who are looking out and want to join the festival, do you have to align yourself with a team to participate, or how does it work?
Yeah, you have to.
Kent?
It's a very competitive sport, you know. So teams would have been preparing for quite some time, and you know, we have quite a few competitive teams in Trinidad and Tobago, as Mr. Siu Chong mentioned. Oceanas out of Tobago, they are very, very competitive, and also it takes a period of time before you even get the technique right for dragon boat. Natasha could attest to that. She went out with my team at one point in time, and you know, it's dragon boat in a sense is an extreme sport, so it's very tough on the body. So you know, it takes a while to prepare for a regatta and to get your team in peak shape. Of course, at the beginning of the year, we would have had some challenges too, you know, coming out of the pandemic. So it's a bit, I would say, it would have been a bit of a challenge for some of the teams this year, in particular, to prepare for the regatta. But I'm happy to see the amount of teams that we have coming out next weekend.
Right. And in terms of us competing on a global scale, do you know if we go abroad to any of the regions or any of the world to compete in any world events?
Yeah, in the past we would have had quite a few national teams doing pretty well. That is how exactly I got involved in dragon boating, interviewing the team that went to Tampa in 2011, and since then we've been able to send some teams out to different international competitions. I know Hungary, we had sent a couple of teams as well, and also some of the club crew teams, they go out to international competition as well on their own. So the sport in particular, it has its following and also very competitive.
Yeah.
I must say, dragon boating is a all-round body sport exercise. And in fact, this year, for the first time, we have a breast cancer team.
Oh, wonderful.
Breast cancer, you know, dragon boating for breast cancer is very therapeutic. Breast cancer is part of the sport of dragon boating, and there's a International Breast Cancer Paddlers Commission that has breast cancer teams all over the world.
Mr. Siu Chong, did we host the director at some point, or somebody from the
Yes,
organizing
that's
commission
correct.
came down,
That's
right?
correct.
Yes, yes.
Mary Gibson.
Mary
She came
Gibson,
down,
that's it.
She came from New Zealand, and actually she was here to promote breast cancer, to kick off breast cancer in Trinidad and Tobago, but she was also on her way to Bahamas. As wearing my other hat as president of the Pan American Dragon Boat Federation, we developed the Bahamas as our 8th country coming into the Pan American region and the 3rd Caribbean country. So we expect dragon boating to grow throughout the Pan American region. As well, being a CARICOM citizen, I would want to see dragon boating in the Caribbean. We'll have hopefully a Caribbean regatta.
Yes.
You know, so it has a lot of hopes. I think that dragon boating, the sport of dragon boating, is the ultimate sport tourism product.
Yeah.
As Kent mentioned, in 2019, we had the Pan American Club Crew Championships in Tobago. We brought 1,000 visitors to Tobago. That is amazing. There's no other sport that brings so many people right? So for sport tourism, it is great. I think the Tobago House of Assembly, they're looking towards using dragon boating to promote Tobago itself as extreme dragon boating, because normally dragon boating is you race on a lake which is flat waters, but in Tobago you race in Pigeon Point, in a place they call Windy Hole, you know, so it is very rough there, right? So we want to promote Tobago as for extreme dragon boating, and it's the ultimate sport tourism product.
And I'm sure as well it can also help with the economic recovery of the island, because as you mentioned, you bring so many people on the island. I could imagine the revenue that would have generated that weekend.
Exactly.
But Mr. Siu Chong, let me thank you so much for joining us here on the Now Morning Show. I know Kent is putting together a team. I may join the team for next week, so I may be there next week for the competition.
We look forward to
So thank you so much for joining us. That was Mr. Franco Siu Chong, the president of the Pan American Dragon Boat Federation. Also joining us virtually would have been the PRO, Mr. Ken Fuentes. This is how we close this segment, but stay with us. We have so much more on now.